Malay.
Yeah.
Welcome to Still Talking Uncut. I'm your host, Big Easy from Philly Moonshine. Pretty sure I got my audio fixed this time with no help of Sean. And here's your host, Sean Rigsby. Got a hat on this time. We'll take that. And got a special guest with us today, Nick King. It's finally
How
nice to
y'all
meet you,
doing?
Nick. Sean's told me a lot about you. He talks a lot about you. You know, so it's nice to finally meet you. And
You too, man. You too.
yeah, honored to have you on the show. And
I'm glad to be here. It's an honor to be here.
Shit.
we're just going to sit around and shoot the shit.
and
I'm
enjoy
good
and
at
see what
that.
happens.
It's my specialty. So,
Oh yeah.
we always started out, and I guess since Sean's already drinking, what you drinking on, Sean?
I'm drinking on some Beaver Liquor from.
I do enjoy licking beaver.
Oh yeah, who don't?
That's right.
If not, you probably shouldn't be on this podcast, right? It's from, but believe it or not, it's from Chico, California. But if you look real close, you'll see what it's.
They run that through the Tennessee Thumper Stills.
Yep. From
I gotcha.
Rick's 8
One of
jar.
the Rick Gibson specials.
Yep, it's a pumpkin spice, man. Believe that. And I'm not real big on pumpkin spice, but you can ask Big Easy, man. It's real nice. It's just infused. It's a rice liquor. He distilled it twice. No thumper. Twice. Yeah, he ran it off once in big still, and then he fired it through this with the 8 jars and a bunch of fucking spices, man. But it's real nice.
And I was surprised when I tasted it because I'm not bougie. I don't like pumpkin liquor. Pumpkin
Yeah, I'm not
spice.
big on that either.
Yeah.
I don't own any UGG boots. I don't make them in my size, anyways. And I tried it, and I was so surprised. I'm a big fan of infusion, way over post flavoring. I think post flavoring is a little cheating.
Yeah.
And so, man, when I tasted that pumpkin spice, I was like, I was on Amazon looking for a pair of Uggs. It was so good, just to fit in.
Oh yeah. So what are you drinking on, Easy?
Some Big Easy's Peach Mountain Brandy.
Oh,
She
peach.
about a year old. I was talking the other night with some guys on TikTok about it, and a couple of them didn't understand what Mountain Brandy was. Mountain Brandy is half and half fruit, half brandy, and it comes from the mountains because not everybody likes to taste of corn because not everybody likes to taste of corn.
Hell, why would you drink corn when you got fruit?
Not everybody has great taste, though.
Yeah. And a lot of people like to taste the fruit, so they're like, well, let's cut it in half. Well, half fruit, half brandy, and you just get that fruit aftertaste and still with the corn liquor. So Mountain Brandy's born. So like me a little
Hell
Mountain
yeah.
Brandy sometimes.
Hell yeah. What about you, Nick? What are you drinking on?
Little 2-year-old bourbon I made myself.
Okay.
Corn, wheat, and Milo. Set in a barrel for 2 years.
Patience,
Yeah, it's pretty
man.
good stuff, man. I cut it down to 75 proof. I put it in the barrel at 130. Let it set
Nice.
2 years. Cut it down to 75. Real smooth. Good evening drink.
Was it a 5-10 gallon barrel or
Yep.
Or-
I aged this in the small barrel. Yep.
did you? Hell
Yeah.
yeah, man. That's one thing I don't have a whole lot of experience on is barrels.
Well, it's different, man. You got to hurry up and wait.
Hurry up
That's
and
all a
wait.
barrel is hurry up and wait.
Yeah. I know there ain't much fun in that though.
Set it and
Well,
forget
I
about
agree,
it.
but there's a big report at the end, and that's a good thing.
It's kind of like a 401k. It's put up and you can't touch it,
Yeah.
and that's just what you got to tell yourself. Like, I can't touch this. That's for later. That's for
Leave it
later.
alone.
Yeah, leave it alone.
Hell yeah. So Nick, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into it.
How long you been shining?
Let's see, about 10 years now.
Okay.
Yep. I had a friend and a partner at one time, and his family had actually been into moonshining for generations. And he wanted to get into it, and I was interested in the not necessarily the making the liquor, but more in the building the stills and the fabrication and things like that. So we got to reading up on it, and just like for 6 months straight, all we done is he rode me around in a basket on a forklift while I worked. He read to me off the internet. I mean, that's all there was to it. And then we decided, well, we got to build a still. And we checked several different things out, the milk cans and all that. And I was actually in Goodwill one evening, and I turned the corner, and there sat a 7 3/4 gallon keg for $5.99. And I was like,
That's a steal right there.
jackpot. So we went from there. I went down the next aisle, and there's a pressure cooker for like $4.99. I'm like, I'm 2 pieces of copper tubing away from a steal.
Hey, when the universe speaks to you, you know you have to answer that.
Yeah, it was
call,
it was supposed to happen. So we started from there, and the first batch of liquor we ever made, we went to Tractor Supply, bought a bag of sweet feed, and made some of the most god-awful, nastiest, foul-tasting, green-looking moonshine anybody has ever seen in their life.
But it was liquor, and it's like
Yeah,
success on our first run. Sort of success.
We actually choked down a whole quart of it.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to go down with the ship, you know.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
But hey, you know, I mean, you've grown a lot from there. You know, you learn a lot.
A whole lot. That was my first and last batch of sweet feed from the Tractor Supply. I promise you that.
I've never done a sweet feed.
So I started. I went. The first run I ever made was that wine shit, and then I went from that to sweet feed, and that was the fucking worst shit.
Yeah,
I don't
man.
know. I don't know if I got the kind with pellets or not. I don't know, but man, it was horrible.
Well, man, the mash when you make it up, it smells great, it tastes great, and then it goes to hell
in a hurry.
There's some people, man, that's all they make, and they swear by it. But I guess it's like anything else, man. If you put in the time and the effort into getting it right, then it could be great. But I'm like, hey, man, if it comes off that bad the first time, I don't want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither.
And you can usually tell now, you know, if you make something and you're like, well, this could be a little bit better, you know. Generally, you can tell whether or not you're going to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
well, like I said, that was my first batch ever, and I knew I wasn't doing that again.
And
that says a lot.
You know, if you do get something wrong and it leaves a terrible taste in your mouth, then no matter how good that's going to be in the future, you're still going to be like, oh, no, man, that hurt me once, and I don't want nothing to do with that. And it just brings that back to you.
Absolutely. So, I'm pretty sure I didn't get one thing right about that batch, yo.
You got liquor, so you got one thing right.
Well, I agree with that. That's true.
So you did get one thing.
Do you remember the proof it came off at?
It come out at 135 proof is what it come out at.
So did you use the keg as your pot and the pressure cooker as your thumper?
I did.
And
that was the most nerve-wracking 2 hours of my life.
Oh, 2 hours?
It took me 2 hours to heat up a 7-gallon keg.
Did you heat it up with matches?
No, I kept cutting it off because I thought I was going to blow my dumb ass up.
I can see that. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
Great. So what's your favorite liquor to make now?
Well, my favorite thing to run is just straight old corn liquor.
Corn sugar, full conversion.
I actually use corn, wheat, and Milo is what I use.
Okay.
Yep. So, I use a 3 grain and I mash in with sugar and run like that. I
gotta ask, what is Milo?
It's you actually find it in a scratch grain. It's just like a type of wheat.
Okay.
And I there's a local feed store that I buy my feed. I just buy sack feed to make mine with. And I use a corn, wheat, and Milo. It's called a 3-way scratch grain.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I look forward to trying it.
yeah. One of these days. So are
Always.
you gonna make it to the jam this year? I think I may have asked you before, but I can't remember.
Man, probably not during the summer jam, but I'm going to try to make the winter jam. I've got more work right now than I can ever get done in 2 or 3 months. So
Yeah.
I got to play catch up.
Well, I don't blame you, man. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. When it's out there to get, you got to get it.
Oh yeah.
For sure. Prioritize, hanging out and making money. Give me
That's
making
right.
money any day of the week,
That's right.
Yep. If not, it'll get away and you'll be scratching your head like, what the fuck just happened?
Absolutely.
So you started on the keg with the pressure cooker.
Yep.
What'd you move up to after that?
I actually went to a 15-gallon keg.
Well, I mean that's
and
the 7.5 became your thumper.
And the 7.5 became the thump. That's right.
The progression, man. That's
yep. And
That's
I ran that old 15-gallon keg in the ground. Me and my partner, at one time, we was putting 100-gallon of mash a weekend to a 15-gallon keg.
That's getting it for sure.
100-gallon a week or a weekend?
Weekend.
During a weekend.
We would lay out of work. We'd leave work about lunchtime on Friday and shut it down at 6 o'clock Monday morning and go back to work. We'd sleep in shifts.
Oh man, that's doing it. At one point, was you like, man, fuck this? We gotta get something bigger.
many a times,
And and when you don't know or you don't know anybody, and it's not like 10 years ago, it's not like you could hop on the internet and order a 50-gallon North Georgia still or hop on TikTok and go to Copper Still Co. and have him make you whatever the hell you want. It was like, we got to figure this out. And like you said, you're so worried about it blowing up in your face because that's all you heard your whole life. It's like, oh man,
yeah, absolutely.
You're going to blow yourself up. It's kind of like getting a BB gun as a kid. You're going to shoot yourself in the eye. And so you're kind of weary, and then when you get a little farther into it, you meet somebody. They're like, nah, man, just a copper and solder, bro. As big as you want.
Send that shit. It'll be all right.
It's funny because I always see people online. They're like, oh, so I turned my still on and I ran it up to 173 degrees, but I haven't gotten anything out of it.
That's the magic number.
And they said, I haven't got nothing out of it. I'm like, turn it up till you do.
Yeah, just keep turning it up. Something will come out of it.
Yeah, if there's alcohol, well, yeah. I mean, even if you don't have alcohol, something will eventually come out of that motherfucker.
You're going to get alcohol, want it or not. You're going to get alcohol, water, or mash out of the end. You keep turning it up, but you're going to get something.
Yep.
Yeah, depending on what it is, and what you've done wrong.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of beginners, there's no patience. They don't want to wait. It's like you just got to wait, man. Like it ain't coming out at 173. Wait 10 more minutes, and eventually something's going to come out. You just got to be patient. So,
but that's
y'all know as well as I do. A still will teach you patience.
Oh yeah, still and a woman. Those two things.
That's right.
Those two things give you the patience of a nun. That's for sure.
That's absolutely true.
If not, the other one will make you happy.
That's right. Oh, still makes me real happy.
And the still ain't gonna take half your shit either.
That's right.
It'll give you shit.
Yeah.
It will give you shit, that's for sure.
Even if it's a headache, So I keep hearing about this blueberry story.
Man,
I heard that blueberries almost murdered you once. So
man, that was back in the early. That was back in the early days. That was after I figured out that sweet feed don't make good moonshine. Period. Damn, it don't happen. So a friend of mine gave me a keg of beer, some kind of funky off-brand craft beer. I don't know what the hell this shit was. He gave me a keg of beer and said, you can have the keg, the beer, the whole thing, and I'm like, well, hell yeah. So first thing I do is drain the keg into a big tote, and I'm like, well, this smells all right. Pretty good smelling beer. So I'm like, hell, I'm gonna mash it in. So I get some sugar and dissolve it. And at that time I had a shit ton of blueberries. And I was like, blueberry beer shine. Let's try that out.
Man.
So I mash up all these blueberries. I mix it with the beer and I make a mash, and it's pretty good shit. Well, at that point in time, I was like, well, I don't want to make a lot of this at once. And I was in between going to work, and I'm like, I'm going to run half of it one night and the other half the other night. So I set up that little 7 3/4 gallon still, and I had a 36-inch tall column on it. And well, I'm fucking short. Okay. That's all there is to it. This thing's 3 feet over my head sitting on a turkey fryer. All right. So I'm like, all right, I've got it set up, and I'll tell you where I went wrong. I'm running this 7 3/4 gallon keg. I've got 1/2 gallon jar on it for a thumper. And I put it in a little garden tool shed I've got that is 4 feet wide and 8 feet long. You open the door and it's a moonshine still, okay? The whole damn building. And at that time I was like, well, I got to have a worm for this thing. And I had a real cool looking metal barrel, they send oil, like a grease in them, a grease barrel, 20-gallon grease barrel.
Mm-hmm.
So I clean this thing up, and it's red and yellow and got Pennzoil on it, and it looks pretty cool, you know. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to put a worm in that. So I make up a worm and stick down in it, and I had some copper line that went to an ice maker, and there's about 25 feet of it, and, you know, that stuff's only like 5/16. But I thought that little bitty keg, that sort of work out great. I stick it down in the barrel, fill it up with water. I've got a bigger barrel outside, and I'm circulating water through it, you know, that way I've got plenty of volume. And I take the 1/2 gallon jar inside, and I've got a Ninja blender. And yeah. I don't know if y'all have ever used a Ninja blender, but you can throw a transmission in this bastard and hit the button and it'll liquefy it. Okay. Period. Ninja blenders are badass. So I put a shit ton of blueberries in there, and I turn it into a puree, and I strain it through a piece of cheesecloth. Somehow, some way, somewhere, a single blueberry ends up in this 1/2 gallon mason jar. Okay. I screw it back to the steel. I turn on the turkey fryer, and I'm ready to make shine. All I'm doing is sitting outside the building on a milk crate, because I can't sit inside the building. It ain't big enough. And I'm on my phone, you know, whatever. And I get to thinking, I'm like, well, this thing should be making shine, okay? And so I got a little bitty 3-foot tall ladder, and I set it inside there. And at the top of this column, I put a T, okay? A 3/4 inch T. And at the top of it, I put a cork in it with a thermometer.
Yep.
And the shine comes out the T side, okay, down into the thumper. Well, this mason jar is rolling, buddy, and it's starting to fill up, and I'm like, something's wrong. So I climb up the ladder and peek my head up to look at the thermometer, and I said, oh, shit. I just let go and fell out the door. The thermometer was sitting on about 225 degrees. And when this thing went off and blowed that cork out, boom! There's a blue flame. And I shit you not, a blue flame come out of the top of this still, out of that 3/4 inch T. And the little shed I built had one of those plastic skylights in it. It vaporized that fucker. And there's blue flames shooting 25 feet in the air, and I'm on fire, the shed's on fire, the yard's on fire, and it's 11 o'clock at night. And I'm, well, this is going to be some shit. I have just made the 5 o'clock whole house barbecue news over a damn blueberry. I have been took out over a damn blueberry.
So what happened? Did the blueberry get into the line and clog the
Man,
line?
it was in the jar and it sucked it up through there. And when it hit that 5/16 worm, it
Oh,
cut down production in
damn.
a serious way. And everything I read on the internet at that point in time said you should always have a fire extinguisher. And I'm like, well, that sounds like sound advice.
Hillbillies, we don't
I've got one of
sound
these-
advice. We
Something
don't
I've
care
I've
never
got
about
had.
one of
sound
these little
advice.
random ass $10 Walmart white fire extinguisher. Kids on fire, I'm on fire, yard's on fire, everything's burning to the ground. And I jerk up this fire extinguisher and I squeeze it and it goes, and that's it. And I'm like, well, fuck me, this is bad. So I'm scrambling. There's still a blue flame shooting straight up out of into the sky. And I'm hunting something to put this fire out with. And I finally find a little old coffee can, and I go to dipping water out of the main barrel outside, throwing it in the building. I finally get the fire put out, and I'm like, what in the fuck just happened? What's going on here? So I start taking everything apart, and I've got a union right there where it hooks to this little old worm. I take it out. There's the blueberry lodged right against it.
Damn.
And I'm like, wow, this blueberry has just about took me out.
Blueberry
So,
got me.
After the ceiling, the old plate stopped melting from the ceiling, and I found my thermometer in the cork. I shoved it back in there and kept running it. And I ended up catching about 3 quarts off that. And it was actually a pretty good shine.
A little smoky.
Yeah, just a little with a hint of plastic in it, but it turned out all right.
I tell you, the fact you had it set up with that cork in the top of that tea, like that.
Yeah.
That's even though what happened. Like imagine if it was just closed off in a column and pressure built. Like
that taught me a valuable lesson, and everything from thereafter has got a wine bottle cork in it somewhere.
Yeah.
And the pipe's big enough to fit a blueberry through.
If I can help it, it's big enough to stick a Coke can down through it.
At least, right?
You can force a pie through there. No problems. That's cool.
Hell yeah. So what's your favorite thing to drink?
My favorite thing to drink, honestly, is a Scotch whiskey. I like Scotch whiskey.
Really?
I like 12-year-old old band, and then from there, probably bourbon, and then just good old corn liquor, clear corn liquor.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, not just overpowering corn, but I like the flavor of it.
Really?
Yep.
Yep. See, I like a little bit of rye in there.
Yeah, rye whiskey's good.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like some wheat.
Wheat.
Yeah, I like me a little wheat.
Yeah. I think you'd probably like some of that clear I run because you can definitely taste the wheat in it.
You and me both. I think I'd rather enjoy me a jar.
Hell yeah,
that's right.
It'll happen at some point.
We're
gonna have to take a ride down there and hang out for a while.
So,
yeah, there's all kinds of things to do here. As long as you like trees and squirrels and woods and half-hour drive to Walmart.
Oh yeah, I could be at both of our Walmarts in a half hour, and on my way home.
Takes me exactly 30 minutes to drive to Sean's house.
I have
right down the highway.
In the year 2000, they built a new high school in my county. Before they built that high school, I had to drive 30 minutes to see a traffic light.
No shit.
No shit. We're up to 3 in the whole county now.
3 lights?
3 traffic lights.
Oh, fuck. You got it nice.
Yeah, it's nice. They have to pump sunshine to me.
Do what?
I said they have to pump sunshine to me.
That ain't all it's getting pumped out of there.
That's right.
So, what's your favorite kind of still to run? I mean, have you ran like plate stills? Have you ran column stills? I mean,
Man, my favorite thing to run is a pot still with a column on it.
oh yeah,
Multiple columns.
do what?
I built a 55-gallon still out of a stainless drum once, and I actually found the barrel at a yard sale. Is where I bought this barrel at. And I brought it home and done some welding on it. And the first thing I done was put a cone on it and coned it up to 2 inches, and then I stuck a 4-foot column on top of it.
Okay.
And I packed the column with copper. And then I ran it down into a 15-gallon beer keg, and I cut a 2-inch, tri-clamp into it and run it straight down into the bottom, 1.25 inches. And I come out of the beer keg with another 4-foot column to my worm. And that thing was pretty faithful. You get 10, 11 gallons out of it, and it'd start out anywhere between 180 to 182 about every single run.
Yeah, you like them big columns, man.
Yeah, bigger the better.
So do you heat it with propane under it, or do you use a burn tube, or both, or?
Actually, I've got the 55-gallon. I had a burner underneath it, but I also I cut it and I put a piece of 3-inch stainless pipe right through the center of it, about 3 inches off the bottom. And I'd bring it up to temperature from the bottom.
Yeah.
And then I would light the burner in the middle, and that's how I'd run it.
Okay.
Yeah, because once you get it up to temperature, you just got to keep it there.
Right. And it don't take much.
It don't take much, and it worked great.
Peaches don't want to come in, Sean.
No, she don't. Chloe, go out there and talk.
Yeah, those big columns, they've been good to me.
Oh yeah.
Son,
Let the door go.
She'll come in when she's ready.
Yeah, she'll start headbutting the door here in a minute.
Yeah, she's probably swimming down at the neighbors.
Just leave it shut. She'll be all right.
She's taking her dip down neighbors again. So
did I ever tell you about that story, or did you hear about it?
Oh yeah, about the 2 doors down.
Leave that open. Yeah.
Yeah, you told me.
Swimming in the neighbor's pool.
Yeah. So, hell, I was going to ask you something else. Can't remember what it was. Will you, son of a bitch. What do you got for him, Easy?
Well, you'll put me on. I thought you was running this show, Sean.
You're on the spot, man. I
put you on the spot, Easy.
All day.
Man. So, how do you know? How long have you known Sean, and how did you how did you have the unfortunate duty of becoming acquainted with this guy?
Well, me and Sean are on a private Facebook group together, and I'm actually an admin on this one, and I post the pictures on there a little more freely than I do everywhere else.
Understandable.
And I posted a picture of a still on there. I think it was the 55-gallon one that time. And he just pretty much like, holy fuck, dude, why you got such a tall column on this steel for? And I'm like, well, because I want more out of it. Every drop I can squeeze out of it's what I want. And that's where our friendship began. And we've thrown a lot of ideas back and forth between each other.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Sean's definitely a lot smarter than he looks. That's for damn sure.
Hell yeah.
I like to give him credit too much, but, every now and then you got to throw him a bone. So grow your fucking beard back, bro.
I'm trying.
Grow it back,
motherfucker,
man.
I'm
Yeah,
trying.
anything to cover that up, please.
Jesus.
What a dick.
Oh man.
But yeah, we both know Rick too. You know, old Gibson.
I
And
don't
I
tell anybody
remember.
that either.
Speaking of which, Nick, I remember you and I believe Nate
Yep.
was at the jam, winter jam about 4 years ago,
Yep. That was
maybe
about
5,
2017, 2018.
something like that. Yep, I vaguely remembered that, and I'm like, wait a minute, this dude looks so fucking familiar when I seen you online.
Yeah. We drank a lot of beer that weekend and a lot of shine.
Oh yeah,
Sounds like a sounds like a routine when Sean gets down to Maggie Valley.
Oh, it's pretty much the go-to maneuver.
oh yeah, yeah. We during the fall this past year, I got kind of pretty hammered. Rick was supposed to drive us back and forth, and he got hammered too. He
Yeah,
couldn't hold.
that's a little out of the ordinary for Rick.
Well, it wasn't
Yeah.
alcohol, but he couldn't hold. You know, he couldn't fucking sit up.
Right.
You know,
He
Rick.
couldn't function.
He. Where were we at, man? We were over there at the tavern. And he texts me.
Yeah.
Or no, he calls. And he goes, "Hey, I need you to come and get me." I'm like,
He was right next door. It was right next
"What?"
door.
He's like, "I can't get off the bed. I need you to come over here and pick." I'm like, "No, what the fuck?" I walk over. He's just sitting on the bed like this. He
Stuck.
looks up.
Stuck.
Yep.
So we got him up and went over there, and we're just sitting there, and he's just like, he's looking around, fucking smile.
We were all hammered. Luckily, my wife drove us back. Dropped them off.
Must have never got over it because the last time I seen Rick, that's exactly the same look he had on his face.
That don't surprise me at all. Don't
Yep.
fucking Rick.
I guess the last time I seen Rick was probably when you sent me that column that you had down.
Yep. Still working all right?
Hey, that thing is a producer.
Are you running a stainless in it?
I am. Yep, I am. I actually modified it just a little bit.
Drill some holes in the motherfucker?
No, I didn't drill no holes in it. It's just, it's got that piece of stainless in it. And I got to thinking about it, and I'm like, well, if that piece of stainless works that great, if I pack that bastard full of copper around that stainless, I can get just a little more out of it.
Yeah, the video you sent me the other day, 180. I'm like, holy fuck.
Yep.
And that was one run.
That was one run right out of the gate. That was actually a sour mash.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a first run sour mash.
So was that, how long did that 180 hold? And I'm not going to say gallon wise, I mean time wise.
About 3 hours. Yep, you heard me right. It might have dropped 5 points in 3 hours, but after 3 hours, if you put a hydrometer in it, it was reading right at 180.
Nice.
That ain't bad.
No, that ain't bad.
Not at all. Just a little.
I take it. I take it
Every single time.
And what come between the
You got to run one real slow and get that drip just right to get that kind of proof for that long.
Drip, huh?
Drip.
Yeah, hold on.
You better put that lid back on that jar, Sean, or you ain't gonna make it to work tomorrow.
Well, it's conveniently I got 5 days vacation now.
Yeah.
5 days of vacation.
So the funny thing, Nick, I work for a union, and the contract just went up where we get. I did get 5 days, and then we accrue 4 hours of pay. So now it's 5 more days, and then we accrue 6 hours, or it's like 6.15 of pay. It winds up being like 5 weeks a year of vacation.
Got it made.
Plus we get 3 days personal time and 4 hour or 4.6 hours of sick time I pay too. So I spend more time at home than I do at work.
Well, I'm head of maintenance and where I work, and these guys love to keep me busy. They are worried about my livelihood, so they break a lot of shit.
Yeah, well, that's why you gotta get you a city job, man.
Right?
No,
Right?
all I've done this week. I mean, easy. I'll tell you, I fucking mowed grass all week. That's all I've done.
Well, all I've done all week is built doors because nobody showed up to work this week. So, yeah, I work for a door and window factory, and I'm usually trying to keep the building propped up around it. But this week, I've just building doors.
Okay.
Lots of doors. Like, you don't understand. Lots of doors.
A job's better than no job, though.
You'd think.
You'd think. It depends. So
And
you talked about running a sour mash, Nick. Do you always sour mash your runs?
most of the time I do. I like using a sour mash. You know, you've already got alcohol there. The liquor's just a little bit smoother, in my opinion, when it comes out. I've noticed that you don't really get as high a proof as you will with a sweet mash right out of the gate.
Yeah.
But it holds proof longer, and you end up getting more volume out of a sour mash.
How many generations do you go in your sour mash before you
I usually
stop
go 4
using it?
generations.
Okay, and then you just feed that to the chickens and
Yeah, I got a buddy that raises hogs, and he really likes it.
them hogs really like it.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of yeast do you use?
It depends on what I'm running and the volume I'm running.
Like with your sour mash,
usually
do you use...
just if it's a volume at all, I use a Red Star, distiller's yeast. But
yeah,
you just can't beat the old bread yeast either, man. Especially on smaller projects, it's tried and true.
You're damn right it is, man. I'm a big fan of bread yeast. So when you do your sour mash, do you just use the same? You don't repitch yeast each time? You just use the same yeast that's still in the bin, or do you throw in a little bit of new?
Is after I mash back in, I'll let it set for 24 hours, and I'll see how it's working, and I'll adjust accordingly from there.
Okay.
Sometimes you have to add a little yeast to get it working a little faster, a little harder, but it depends on the temperature outside, and
Yeah.
Do you always go ahead?
Yeah, you go ahead, Sean.
Do you always re-add nutrients? Or do you add nutrients, or
I try to cut it by about 25% of the sweet mash. I re-add nutrients, and of course, everybody knows there's ways to adjust your pH if it don't look like it's doing what it needs to do. As advanced as some of my equipment is that I've built, I do a lot of stuff old school. I mean, Sean can vouch for that. Like,
yeah, I do too.
I'm telling you right now, I got one of them new fancy specific gravity meters a while back.
He texted me. He goes, "How the fuck you read this thing?"
You buy a glass.
The best $8 I've spent in a while.
So it's really cool to hear you talk about how your yeast you adjust accordingly, because a lot of guys that do sour mash, they don't add new yeast. They're like, look, man, I let the old yeast do it. I don't add any yeast. I like the flavor it comes through. So it's really cool to hear you say, like, if it needs it and it ain't working the way I want it to, then hell yeah, I'm gonna throw some more yeast in there.
Yeah, I'm gonna pep that shit up. I've got things to do.
You damn right. Like, I'm in at the window. Let's get it done. So,
yeah.
Only time I'm patient is when it's running. Other than that, I ain't got no patience.
I get a little impatient about that sometimes.
Yeah, well, I don't blame you though. I mean,
but luckily, you could take a sip of patience out of the ends.
Yep, that's absolutely the truth.
But don't get too much patience out of the end.
Wound up laying in a ditch somewhere.
Yeah, you damn right.
Yeah. Head on a rock in a creek.
So, what's your dream still to have?
Man, one of these days, I'm going to own 1,000-gallon still.
That's what I want.
I mean, it's one of these days I'm going to own 1,000-gallon still, and I'm going to run it, and I'm going to be happy about it. I mean, I've done decided it's going to need at least a 6-inch column off the pot, 10 feet tall. There's no doubt
need a bigger
about it.
ladder.
At
Need a
least.
bigger ladder and a big old cork at the top of that
He's
one.
gonna need a bigger fucking building too. Your building's gonna be like over, up, over. It's gonna be like stairs.
Up.
I got a feeling if I ever get my hands on 1,000-gallon pot, that thing's gonna be in the woods somewhere.
Yeah. Just to have the space for it.
Yeah. The heat that thing would put off would be astronomical.
It would.
Yeah. There's a. I think the dog's outside still.
I'm lucky. I've been around a few pretty good sized steels. I've helped run 100-gallon. I've helped run a 200-gallon, and I've ran a 300-gallon.
That's a big pot.
That's a big pot.
Old pot.
What size thumper did that 300-gallon have on it?
It had a 55-gallon drum, stainless drum.
Perfect. So
and you could hear that bastard hammering from 100 feet away.
Now, was that your old 50-gallon pot you turned into the thumper? Or
well, I'm not going to divulge all the information, but let's just say that. I'll tell you this. Yes, it was my 55-gallon drum that was used as a thumper.
It's a common theme, you know. Like, hey man, I'm gonna take this pot, and when I move up, this pot's my thumper. I don't even got to get a thumper. It's definitely the way to go. So,
well, I told y'all that I ran a 15-gallon still for a long time. The 15-gallon still that I ran ended up being the cap for that 300-gallon still.
Nice. That's cool as shit.
Yeah.
That's cool as hell. So, talk about the worm on that 300-gallon that you ran. What's that like? Or
that's the one you said. That's the one I saw pictures of, right, Sean?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, first of all, you got to know a guy that knows a guy that has a buddy in heating and air, and then all it takes is $100 bills.
Yeah.
You
old Benjamin will get you there every time.
You got to drive 3 or 4 counties over so they don't know who you are, where you're from, or anything about it. And you go in there and you tell them you need 120 feet of 1.1/8 soft copper. And the first thing they're going to ask you is, what in the hell kind of AC unit are you running that you need 1.1/8 line for a condenser? And you have to tell them, well, I don't think he's run the air conditioner. I think he's making wind chimes out of it. And I'm like, that's some damn expensive wind chimes. And go from there.
And so when you was it already coiled and you had to
it is coiled when you get it, but the coils are like 4 feet tall. And then you got to find something to wrap them around, okay? And it's got to be substantial. And you've got 2 choices. The old timers used to find them a tree that they like, usually a slick bark hickory, or they'd use a poplar tree. And you fill this copper completely full of sand. And once you get it full of sand, you can start to bend it and turn it, and it won't kink on you.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of going out in the woods and get covered in chiggers and ticks and all that, I just took a 55-gallon drum, and it was full of sugar. And we wrapped it around that.
Okay.
And when you're wrapping this, you have to remember, you don't really want to stack 2 pieces of 60-foot copper on top of each other, because that's going to be tall when you build it. So what we done is made 2 worms and set them side by side, but they coil opposite of one another. They start out together and they come back together at the bottom. And you have 2 separate worms combined together as one worm.
Yep.
And, you know, the inlet goes from 2 inch to 1 1/8 inch, and then, of course, it's 1 1/8 inch all the way out the spout.
You know, speaking of that, which that's cool as fuck. And I think that's when I found out that you did that. I was like, dude, check this out. Robert Bondurant has that
That's
on his
exactly
500 gallon. And,
Yeah, I've still
and
got
then-
the picture you sent me of that.
Yep. And I was like, check this shit out. And you're like, well, here, check this shit out.
Yeah. I was like, that's a great idea. Look at this one.
Yeah, and that's the only 2 I've ever seen.
Yeah. When I built that worm, I built it in mind of my end goal of having 1,000-gallon still someday.
That's
Yeah.
the same thing me and Sean talk about. Like, look, man, if you're going to build it, you better build it too big now, then in the future it's perfect.
Yeah, especially with worms, man. You can never really build them too big.
An old timer, a local legend around here, told me, I asked him one time, I was like, well, how big of a worm do you need? And he said, there's no such thing. He said, you can't make them too big. The bigger, the better. He said, if you can put your arm up in it, if you can get it bigger than that, go ahead.
Is that the guy that's got the 200 gallon that you were talking about? The 100 gallon?
No, this guy that I'm talking about, he's a old school shiner. He used to
Okay.
run a 2,000-gallon black pot still behind my house. And
No
they
shit.
fired it with slabs from a sawmill.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. There's an old steel site down behind my house, down in the woods on the creek, and it was a 2,000-gallon black pot still.
That's fucking crazy.
It ran 2 5-gallon buckets of shine out every 7 minutes.
Wow. That's insane.
I couldn't imagine 3 gallons an hour.
He told me that when they were at the height of their production, that they were selling shine for $3 a gallon.
No shit.
$3 a gallon.
Still though.
And they said they couldn't make enough.
I bet not. I'd have been there with a 250-gallon water tank in the back of my truck, like $3 a gallon. Fill it on up.
Yeah, no shit.
Hey, they were hauling everything in by mules.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a sight to behold. I mean, even now, I can go down there, and it's a pretty good little walk behind my house. You know, I mean, you got to know where to go. It's growed up my mountain laurel patch. They had it hid pretty good, but just to go down there and just stand and just take it all in is something else. Work that they put into that to make a living.
Yeah, just to soak in that history and just
Absolutely.
think about what it was like and just picture the way it was. And
when Alan was on here the other day and he was talking about the history of where he's from and the Black Forest, I really related to that because there's just so many old steel sites right here around my place.
Yep. See, up here where we're at, it's not so much that kind of shit as it is old mills and distilleries.
Absolutely.
On the river. Yep.
Yeah.
And that was about 200 years ago.
Yeah. We've got a rich history of moonshine here, but it's kind of a thing of the past now. I mean, I don't know. People's got away from it, and honestly, man, the drugs and all that, it's taken over.
Pills and stuff.
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how it is down
I
there.
guarantee you're going to find 1,000 meth labs before you find one moonshine still.
That's crazy.
That is. It's wild to think that, you know. But you know,
But-
it's the way it goes. You know, you see the moonshine community blowing up with home distillers, small guys. There's lots of small guys getting into it now.
Absolutely.
So you know, it seems like it's coming in waves, I guess, and now it's different type of people
Yeah.
getting into it that you would never think would shine, and so it's cool to see, you know.
A lot of hydrometer holders nowadays.
Absolutely. You know, I've got a good friend now, and I actually met him at work. He was one of the delivery guys. He delivered product to where I work, and we were having a side conversation, and something was said about moonshine, and he just perked up. I mean, you could just I seen him out of the corner of my eye, and everybody left, and he kind of just walked over. He's like, "Man, I wasn't trying to listen in on your conversation, but," he said, "when you said moonshine, it caught my attention." He's like, I mean, he goes, "I know this is, you can tell me to go to hell or whatever," but he's like, "You don't know where somebody could get some good shine, do you?" And I was like, "Well, I know a guy."
I know a guy.
You know, I know a guy. And he's like, "Well, how much is it and whatever?" And I was like, "Well,"
How much you want to spend?
well, that's pretty much the answer. I said, "That depends, you know."
Yeah.
He's like, I was like, "I'll tell you what, I'm gonna get with him, and I'll get you a jar of apple pie, and I'm gonna get you a jar of clear, and I'm gonna give it to you. And it's on me."
Yep.
It was like on a Tuesday, and he's like, "Well, man, I deliver back here Friday." And I was like, "Sounds good." Well, I give it to him. He sure enough shows back up Friday and delivers. And I give him these 2 jars. And I get a text message Saturday, and he said, "How much of that can you get?" And I was like, "How much do you want?" He said, "I need 5 flats of that apple pie." And I was like, "Is that all?"
Is that all?
And he said, "Yeah, for now." And I was like, "Well, how you want to do this?" And he's like, "Well, I live 2.5 hours away, 2 hours or so." He's like, "Can you meet me halfway?" And I was like, "It's gonna cost you." And you know, that turned into a friendship there. And he's actually bought his own steel now and done
Nice.
like I done. Fucked up a lot of good ingredients to make his first batch of shine, but you know, I see where he started, and I know where he's at now, and it's kind of impressive, you know,
Yeah.
because I've been there and I know what he's going through, and he's all the time calling me, and you know, he's like, "Man, I'm sorry to bother you," and I'm like, "You'll never bother me if you've got a question.
Yeah.
You know, I'll more than gladly tell you how I screwed this up already. I can't tell you how to fix it, but I can tell you how I done fucked it up.
Yeah.
If that'll help you out any at all."
And sometimes that means more than telling people how to fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. You can learn by somebody's mistakes.
Absolutely. Yep.
And that's usually how it goes. You know, you end up meeting somebody with common interests, and then become a great friend. You know, and then you wind up shooting the shit with them, making liquor, and then all of a sudden you're doing a podcast with them.
Yeah, no shit.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
you know, we really appreciate you coming on, Nick. You know,
yeah, man.
Appreciate you giving us an hour of your time and sitting here shooting shit and telling us about your experiences. And you know, it's really cool to listen to you speak. You know, like I've always enjoyed. You know, I learned a lot from you tonight, and I'll listen to this again a couple times. Here. So,
yes, sir.
It was a great time.
Yeah, we're going to have to do this more often, man.
Absolutely. I know it's a good drive from Ohio, but you all have to come down here to these mountains. I can show you some things you probably never seen before.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. That's for sure.
Yeah, we're going to have to because, yeah. I
I
want to
mean,
see
I
my
know
column run again.
Maggie Valley's rocking and all, but there's some better mountains out there. I promise.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Well, everybody have a good night, man, and thanks everybody for listening. And like I said, thanks again for being on, Nick, man. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anytime,
John,
folks.
have a good
Appreciate
night.
being here.
You probably still got some weed eating to get done. And
Nope, I'm done for the night. We'll talk to y'all tomorrow or later.
He
All
cuts
right.
this thing
Whatever.
off. You have to check him for a pulse.
Y'all have a good night. Shine on.
Shine on.